Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. My name is John David Wells. What do we do on this broadcast? We report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. In other words, we de-propagandize the mainstream media. We make commentary. That's not news. We differentiate between news and commentary on this broadcast because what I think about something is not news. And I've also got news. What you think about something isn't news either. It's opinion. And so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. We begin our day with tragedy. It is something that we all worry about. At least I do. Whenever I see police officers engaged in fighting crime, enforcing law, whenever I see ambulances running down the street, I wonder where they're going to. I wish I could do something to help them, to cover their six, as we say. And there are times when there is no one to do that job. And there are times when the bad guys win. And that happened yesterday. 2 police officers and a paramedic were fatally shot while responding to a domestic abuse call in the Minneapolis suburb of Burnsville. The shooter has also died. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz said the victims were responding to a call of a family in danger. Police were called at about 1:50 a.m. to a residence on a report of a domestic situation where a man was reportedly armed and barricaded with family members. 7 children ranging in ages from 2 to 15 years of age were among those in the home when police arrived. This according to the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension Superintendent Drew Evans. He said that during a news conference yesterday afternoon. Responding officers spent quite a bit of time negotiating with the suspect before the suspect opened fire. Officers Paul Elmstrand, Matthew Rouge, as well as firefighter paramedic Adam Finseth were killed, the city said in a statement. This is the way CBS News reported it last night. It was and remains a terrible thing. And let's play this report for you as they had the details and told the story beautifully yesterday, and we bring it to you courtesy of CBS News here on the Wells Report.
Tonight, flags in Minnesota have been lowered to half-staff honoring 2 police officers and a paramedic shot and killed today. It happened after an hours-long standoff with a gunman in the Minneapolis suburb of Burnsville after a domestic abuse call. Another officer was wounded. Governor Tim Walz called it, quote, horrific, adding, we must never take for granted the bravery and sacrifices of our police and first responders. Tonight, a solemn procession as the bodies of the slain officers and paramedic were moved from a Minneapolis hospital in preparation for their funerals. Jonah Kaplan of our Minneapolis station WCCO joins us now with the very latest. Jonah, good evening to you.
Jerika, good evening. It's now been almost 12 hours that officers are here in this neighborhood. You see behind me still a very active scene. Investigators, detectives looking for answers about what led up to this shooting.
I need an ambulance to stand by on the address, and I need 2 additional ambulances.
The call for paramedics came shortly after 5 this morning. Minutes later, dispatch ordered everyone to stay back.
Medics, please back off. Medics, back off and turn off lights.
First responders rushed to the home in Burnsville, a suburb about 20 minutes outside Minneapolis.
They were very tense.
They say an armed man was barricaded inside along with his family. As police arrived, the man opened fire. Video shows at least 1 SWAT vehicle with its windshield nearly shattered by bullets.
Several officers did return fire. I will note that this individual had several guns and large amounts of ammunition.
Two 27-year-old officers from the Burnsville Police Department were struck and killed. A paramedic who rushed to the aid of one of them also died in the shootout.
They know they have to give up their life sometime, and they do it anyways.
State investigators confirmed the suspect died in the confrontation with police. However, family members in the home made it out safely.
7 children inside of the home from ages 15 to 2. It's a very troubling situation, and we're glad they aren't hurt as part of this.
And again, a third officer struck by gunfire. He was rushed to the hospital, but the good news tonight, he's expected to make a full recovery.
And so the sad news begins this morning with a shootout that claims the life of paramedics, a paramedic, and 2 police officers outside of Minneapolis. So let's spend a little bit of time talking about this, courtesy of USA Today. One other officer, Sergeant Adam Mendicott, that's the guy that they're talking about, or Mendlicott, sorry, was injured, transported to the hospital. They are life-threatening injuries, but certainly he is, I'm sure, just absolutely overcome with grief at the loss of his brother officers and his brother paramedic. Police swarmed the snow-covered, tree-shrouded neighborhood at approximately 8 a.m. The suspect was reported to be dead, the city said in a statement. No information was immediately available on the possible motive or how the suspect died. The Minnesota the Minnesota Department of Public Safety Bureau of Criminal Apprehension was investigating the shooting, said more details would be released on completion of a preliminary investigation. Brian Peters, the executive director of the Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association, said the law enforcement community was heartbroken. Quote, "We're just devastated at this horrific loss. These heroes leave behind loved ones in a community who will forever remember their bravery and dedication to keeping Minnesotans safe." The children and other family members were able to leave the home later in the morning. They were safe, according to Evans. Residents were asked to avoid the scene. A shelter-in-place order was sent to residents in the area shortly after 6 a.m. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms said its agents responded to the scene. Evans said authorities were investigating the exchange of gunfire that occurred and noted that several officers had returned fire. Authorities will review the officers' body camera footage and conduct interviews as part of the investigation, according to Evans. During the barricade situation, Evans said the suspect shot at officers from multiple positions within the home. The suspect had several guns, large amounts of ammunition. At least one of the officers killed was shot outside the home. Investigators are still piecing together where the other 2 victims were shot. And as far as the officers, Elmstrand, who was 27 years of age, joined the Burnsville Police Department in 2017 as a community service officer, according to the city. He was promoted to officer in 2019, was part of the department's mobile command staff, peer team, honor guard, and field training unit. Rouge joined the police department in 2020. He was part of the department's crisis negotiations team, was a physical evidence officer. He was also 27 years of age. Finseth was 40. He was a firefighter paramedic in Burnsville since 2019, according to the city. The 3 victims were transported to the medical examiner's office in procession. Local television stations showed community members and first responders lighting up on the streets to honor the victims. It's a really hard day for our public safety family. We're hurting, said Burnsville Police Chief Tanya Schwartz during a press conference. 3 members of our teams made it the ultimate sacrifice for this community. They are heroes, she said. Dozens of people gathered in front of Burnsville City Hall last night for a candlelight vigil to remember the victims, according to the Associated Press. Several uniformed officers from other departments also attended, including many from St. Paul. A fire truck and police vehicle were in front of the building. The police vehicle had bouquets of flowers on the hood and handwritten signs tucked under the windshield. Those gathered joined together in prayer and sang Amazing Grace. It's an important community. Area residents Chris Martin told the Associated Press were very saddened by what happened. Paul Knable, he is a retired fire captain and paramedic with the Burnsville Fire Department, told the St. Paul Pioneer Press that he awoke Sunday to a chaotic scene outside his home. Knable said he watched SWAT team members bringing 3 victims to the front of the house and into waiting ambulances. Having a fellow firefighter shot was hard to comprehend, he said. Firefighters never get shot. For that to happen is a huge fluke and just very, very sad. It's like losing a family member. That paramedic went under fire to aid one of the police officers he saw shot in front of him and lost his life because of that heroism. That kind of valor is far too rare and lost far too soon. Joe Grimaldi, National Vice President of the Fraternal Order of Police, called the shootings horrific, said the shootings of the officers has risen back. Let me try that one more time. Joe Grimaldi, the National Vice President of the Fraternal Order of Police, called the shootings horrific and said the shootings of the officers and officers around the country have risen 60%. The war on cops rages on. Have we had enough, America? Senator Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota said in a social media post 3 officers were shot while doing their jobs. They were protecting our community. She said she and her husband were praying for the victims, their families, and the Burnsville PD this morning. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara said in a social media post asking people to keep Burnsville police in your prayers. Here on the Wells Report, we ask you to do the same thing. Burnsville is a Dakota County city of 65,000 people, less than 20 miles south of downtown Minneapolis. The city boasts on its website of being the 9th largest suburb in the metro area and a commuter's dream because of easy access to St. Paul and Minneapolis. Burnsville is a community where residents feel safe and welcome to be themselves. Visitors find a place where they want to come back to again and again. Businesses are positioned for success. City staff and team members find meaningful work and opportunities to grow and evolve. And so the police officers we just mentioned lost their lives, along with the paramedic. And it is a very, very sad day for all of us. And so we think about this. We think about exactly why is it that people believe, very few, fortunately, very few people in this country believe that the only way to solve problems is by murdering other people. We don't know anything about this shooting, really. We know that three people are dead. 3 first responders are gone. 2 police officers and a paramedic. Do we know anything about the guy who was shooting? No. Do we know anything about the weapons? Not yet. Why? That question will likely be answered later this afternoon as we find out more about this story. The one thing that I can say that is something that I've commented on in the past is I've always recoiled in anger when politicians immediately step up and start talking about how we have to ban ways of defending ourselves from people who would shoot us with weapons of their own. That did not happen this time. Amy Klobuchar has done that in the past, but she didn't do it this time. And that is a good thing. It isn't about the weapons. It's about why weapons are used. And that is the real situation to be solved. Weapons are necessary. They're a part of our society for a very good reason. They're not for hunting or target shooting or entertainment value. They are for defending ourselves from a tyrannical government. Are they used for other things? Yes. Do we lose some of our best and brightest because of it? Yes. Is it something that we are willing, is it a price we're willing to pay for the freedom and liberty that keeps this overarching government at bay? I believe it is. But as I come to this segment of the Wells Report, I'm really having tough time with this one. Didn't know these guys, never will, but they're gone. And all of us will miss them.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. I am John David Wells. Our telephone number is 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Speaking of overarching governments, the Supreme Court of the United States will hear arguments in 2 cases involving state laws in Texas and in Florida that increase transparency and accountability for big tech companies. This being reported by Fox News. The law would require social media giants to publish their user standards, then apply them fairly. The Babylon Bee filed a friend of the court amicus brief to explain to the court that when left to their own devices, big tech often abuses these vague policies to silence voices that challenge its orthodoxy, too often at the expense of conservative and religious viewpoints. Social media titans have unlimited unilateral authority to censor, deplatform, or shadow ban disfavored users, content, and viewpoints. The companies claim to be content neutral and open platforms, and they reserve the right to censor content that violates their community guidelines and rules against hate and misinformation. In 2022, Twitter suspended the Babylon Bees account for hateful conduct after it named Assistant Secretary for Health Dr. Rachel Levine as the site's Man of the Year. Twitter refused to reinstate the Bee unless it deleted the tweet, something the Bee refused to do on principle. Had Elon Musk not bought Twitter, the Bee would almost certainly still be banned. Humorless Facebook employees read the Bee's satire piece during Justice Amy Coney Barrett's confirmation hearing, titled Senator Hirono Demands That Amy Coney Barrett Be Weighed Against a Duck to See If She's a Witch. I've got that for you right here. This is the Babylon. This is the Babylon Bee. After 2 days of Amy Coney Barrett gracefully and stoically answering questions with perfect recall and no notes, suspicions grew on Capitol Hill she might be a practitioner of the dark arts. Oh, she's a witch, all right. Just look at her, said Senator Mazie Hirono. Just look at the way she's dressed and how much prettier and smarter she is than us. She's in league with Beelzebub herself. We know it. We must burn her. Senator Hirono then pulled a live duck out of the massive burlap sack next to her and announced, in addition to being a senator, I'm also quite wise in the ways of science. Everyone knows witches burn because they are made of wood. I think I read that somewhere. Wood floats, and so do ducks. So logically, if Amy Coney Barrett weighs as much as this duck I found in the reflection pool outside, she is a witch and must be burned. That was the Babylon Bee. And Facebook immediately deplatformed the Babylon Bee and demanded that they do something about that satire piece. Now, as you can tell, I find that incredibly interesting. Regardless of the politics, it doesn't make any difference what politics are being gored. I don't care. I don't care which sacred ox gets gored when it comes to politics. And that's just plain funny. And so, but the people at Facebook just couldn't find any humor in it because what? It violated not community standards. It violated their political standards. And the Supreme Court must act. How do they fix it? How do they do it? They come up with this bill that says, my goodness gracious, they have to be fair. That's not the way to do it. That's not the way to do it. The Supreme Court could do it very simply. All they need to do is find that American corporations or corporations that are not American but doing business in America must honor and enforce the Constitution and Bill of Rights of the United States of America. Problem solved. All corporations. Problem solved. So instead of just having a chief executive officer, a chief operating officer, American corporations rather, should have a chief constitutional officer to protect the rights of the workers working for these corporations. That changes everything and stops all of it. There. A solution that is relatively simple and, yes, protects the Babylon Bee so that they can continue their stellar work. This is the Wells Report. John David Wells thanking you once again for joining us on this Monday. It's the 19th day of February, 2024. Back in a moment.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
This is the Wells Report. We bring you news, analysis, commentary, and debate. So last Friday, a New York City judge fined the Trump Organization $354 million for a victimless crime that nobody except the state of New York complained about. It was because of the Attorney General of the state of New York invoking a rule, a law, that had never been used in this way, specifically to get Donald Trump. And so far, she's been successful. Now, I talked about this a long time ago. When this first came down, I sat and said, okay, just exactly where is this going to lead us? Let's say, for example, that this case is successful against the former president of the United States. Just exactly where does it leave us? Well, where it leaves us is a perplexed real estate market virtually everywhere, but certainly in the state of New York and specifically New York City. The Trump Organization has also been banned from doing business in New York for the next 2 years. So, what do the real estate people in New York do now? There is now, established by this unfortunate case, a circumstance whereby the Attorney General of the state of New York, along with the courts, will determine property values in the state of New York. That means that as the normal way of doing business, of trying to value a property, that goes right down the tubes. You have to go to the state of New York to find out whether or not it's okay for you to estimate your property values. And so what do? Well, this is a total affront to the concept of private ownership of property. You don't own property if you can't value it. And in the marketplace, you don't have a government deciding what the value of anything is, let alone real estate. The market dictates that. This is a stunning overreach by the government. Kathy Hochul then found herself in a problem. There are an awful lot of people trying to figure out exactly what are they going to do with their real estate in New York. New York Governor Kathy Hochul addressed New York business owners in an interview, told them there was nothing to worry about after former President Donald Trump was hit with a $355 million fine and a ban on conducting business in New York. Hochul joined John Katzimatidis, this on the Katz Roundtable on WABC 770 AM in New York City. This was what she had to say after Mr. Katzimatidis brought up the Trump case on his broadcast in New York.
In the last few days, it looks like President Trump was hit with a $364 million fine by the New York City judge. Now, President Trump is not the most popular guy in town. A lot of people wouldn't lend him 25 cents. But a lot of people feel he doesn't really deserve a $364 million fine. Does the governor's office have the ability to look into it? Because a lot of, I'm worried about business people saying, I'm leaving too. If they can do that to the former president, they can do that to anybody.
Well, the good news is I know many of the business people in New York City, and by and large, they're honest people, and they're not trying to hide their assets, and they're following the rules. And so this judge determined that Donald Trump did not follow the rules. He was prosecuted, and truly the governor of the state of New York does not have a say in the size of a fine. And we want to make sure that we don't have that level of interference. You do not want me as governor to be telling judges that I'm going to overrule their decisions. We need a clear separation of powers. That's what was envisioned by our founding fathers. And I understand the point you're making, John, but I think that this is really an extraordinarily unusual circumstance that the law-abiding and rule-following New Yorkers who are business people have nothing to worry about, because they're very different than Donald Trump and his behavior.
Okay. Anything else?
That's what the governor said, trying to allay the fears of New York City real estate owners. That didn't do it. It just didn't do it. I find it fascinating that she said that she wouldn't interfere with the separation of powers. Well, what about private ownership of property in New York? How is this going to, this can't continue. Because just as Mr. Katzimatidis said, if they can do this with President Trump, they can do it with anybody. You have to go get a blessing on your real estate valuations from the Attorney General of the United States. And you also have to do it from a standpoint of not the Attorney General of the United States, sorry, the Attorney General of New York. And you also have to get that very same blessing from the court system. Well, that's not the way it does. That's not the way this works in the United States. It's not going to stand. This is not going to come close to standing up to any kind of appeal scrutiny. This is going to be set aside hard and fast. What she said was, and I'll repeat this, you just heard it, I think it's really extraordinary, unusual circumstance. I'll say that the law-abiding and rule-following New Yorkers who are business people have nothing to worry about because they're very different than Donald Trump and his behavior. Excuse me. What rules are they following that Donald Trump wasn't? This had nothing to do with the state of New York. This was a deal between banks and the former president. The president said, I think my property values are this, that, and such and so. The bank said, okay. And based on that evaluation, what we're going to do is we're going to lend you money. And the marketplace dictates what the interest rate was based on the fact that if indeed Donald Trump didn't get the kind of interest rate he was looking for on this loan that he was working through this bank, then he'd go someplace else. Donald Trump didn't force the bank to give him money. The bank made a decision. They got their money back plus interest. The deal was fine. They testified so in the courtroom. But somehow this valuation was just wrong. And this attorney general decided that she was going to go get Donald Trump. So what rules are they talking about here? And then, of course, Kathy Hochul says, well, it wasn't me. It wasn't New York. It was the judge. Yeah, Judge Engoron. Yeah, he made this ruling. Typical politician. This is political assassination. It is financial, fortunately. But that's exactly what this is. There is no way this is going to stand. And there is no way that the people of the United States are going to look past this and try to find some way of excusing their vote for Donald Trump if they had already planned to do so. Some people would never vote for Donald Trump. That's fine. But I don't think this changed anybody's mind. All this is a way to throw the New York real estate industry, and considering the fact that this particular ruling also discussed interstate real estate deals, specifically Mar-a-Lago in Florida, there's no way this is going to stand. There's no way it can. Unless you want to change the entire way the government of the United States is handled, the way we are governed in this nation. And this is a huge deal. And the governor of New York knows it. She says, this is a one-off. The rest of the people in the New York real estate business, they don't have to worry about it. Well, what about the next really successful real estate magnate in New York? What about somebody that is clearly smarter than these politicians, this attorney general, and this judge, running circles around them? All the aforementioned people are just smart enough to realize that Donald Trump is way out of their league. They're upset about it, and their own personal egos are taking charge. And that's the way this works. It's amazing, in fact. It's awful. And I'm not the only one that believes it's amazing and awful. There are other things at play here. And specifically, there are people who are, well, responsible for an awful lot of what works from an American supply chain standpoint. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about America's truckers. These truckers have weighed in. There is a report here that I'm working on getting to you. This is from News Nation, and this talks a little bit about how truckers are extremely upset about this ruling in New York and have a plan to deal with it. Check this out.
Well, certainly if truck drivers were to boycott New York City, the impact has the potential to be very damaging and very quickly.
Hold on a second. Oh, for crying out loud. This drives me freaking batty. Oh, this drives me batty. Oh, this drives me batty. It drives me batty. I can't stop it. I cannot stop this automatic replay, and it driveth me crazy. So let's get back to the beginning of this again, and let me bring this to you one more time. Hopefully my computer will not freeze. But fortunately, it did not. Here's the report from News Nation on the truckers' possible strike.
Well, certainly if truck drivers were to boycott New York City, the impact has the potential to be very damaging and very quickly. We're talking about supermarkets, big box stores, and other businesses that rely heavily on trucking, they would feel the pinch, and so would their customers. About 90% of communities here in New York City rely heavily on trucking to move their goods. This morning, we're on the Jersey side of the George Washington Bridge, and every day you can see hundreds, if not thousands, of trucks crossing the bridge from Jersey into the city. Meanwhile, one man is now telling truck drivers not to come to New York City after former President Trump was hit with that massive multi-million-dollar fine last week. Take a listen.
I've been on the radio talking to drivers for about the last hour 15 minutes. And I'm talking to at least 10 drivers going the other way. I'm heading down from South Wisconsin. And they're going to start refusing loads in New York City starting on Monday.
Yeah, the man calls himself Chicago Ray, and as of last night, his post on X, formerly Twitter, had garnered more than 6 million views and 60,000 likes. Former President Trump also caught wind of what Chicago Ray is doing and reposted Ray's video on his platform, Truth Social. But it's hard to ascertain exactly how many drivers are answering his call and what kind of impact it may have. It's not an organized effort, and the drivers expressing support for Chicago Ray, they're scattered all across the country. We did reach out to the Teamsters Union, the union representing many truck drivers, but did not get a response. We also contacted and tried to call at least the National Supermarket Association, which is based here in New York City, but did not get a response. Meanwhile, Chicago Ray says he and other truckers are irate over Judge Arthur Engoron's fining former President Trump more than $355 million for fraud. Ray, like the former president, believes it's a form of election interference. Meanwhile, we talked to one driver who says she's joining the movement to boycott New York City, and she says if things go as planned, the city could pay a big price.
It could shut New York City down. And, I don't want to hurt the people of New York. That's not what I'm trying to do. But my part in it, if New York just loses 10%, just 10% of the trucks that go in there, their prices are going to skyrocket on everything from milk to eggs to any type of goods that the consumer needs. And when that happens, it's going to cost everybody more money.
Yeah, but not every truck driver is getting behind Chicago Ray's efforts. Many drivers responded saying that they would not support the former president because he was accused and now he's been found liable for causing fraud. They say also the New York City market is just too big to ignore.
That's from News Nation, joining us here on the Wells Report with a really good report regarding truckers and their idea of what they should do. And our chat room is coming around with some comments on that as well. Let's see. We all depend on truckers for our goods, says Yvonne. It's true. The Texan says getting truck drivers to organize a strike without a union is like herding cats. You have a good point there. The Teamsters Union, doubtless, would immediately jump right in and take all those loads. The Teamsters Union routinely supports Democrat candidates. There is no reason why they wouldn't support Democrat people and Democrat politicians in New York, and they would certainly fill the void. Don't know whether this is going to work, although there are actual, honest-to-goodness, serious reports that are coming from Fox News as well as other people, as well as News Nation. Let's see who else. Just stopped delivering food and fuel for 3 days, and New Yorkers will be begging to talk about this issue. It's true. It's absolutely true. Is it something that should be done? Yes. Is it something that is all but required in the way we find ourselves in this nation at this time, in this run-up to this election? Yes. Why do I say that? I'll explain coming up in just a couple of moments. What are your thoughts? Is there any way that truck drivers can come together to be able to do something like this? To exactly be, say, for example, the first chapter in something I've called the nothing revolution. Again, I'll explain as we continue here on the Wells Report. Telephone number 817-379-2172, 817-379-2172. We'll be back with more in just a couple of moments as the Wells Report rolls on for Monday.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. Telephone number is 817-379-2172. The Texan joins us. Thanks for having us on your whatever it is that you're watching us on. I guess it's your computer, maybe your telephone. But Texan, welcome to the Wells Report. Good to have you here.
Yeah, man, sitting in my studio watching you on my computer here.
How do I look?
And,
do I look all sleek and so on and so forth?
Man, you look like you just stepped out of Marine Corps. I love the haircut, brother. I love the haircut.
Hey, man, you know what? It's. I wish I could say it was a military decision, but actually what it is this is the hair I have left. And so the little hair pancake is just about all I got. So there you go. The rest of it makes me look like Methuselah. So there you have it.
You're looking good, man. It's good to talk to you again. It's been a while.
It has been a while, Tex. So talk to us a little bit. What do you think about these truckers? Is it going to be possible for them to come together? Is it going to be something that we can actually see?
Well, if you remember, I've been a truck driver now for 32 years. So I might have a little insight on this. You know, a third-generation truck driver, too, by the way. And also a third-generation Teamster. So, you know, okay, up in New York, the unions are still really strong. I mean, not just in the trucking industry, throughout construction, everything up there in New York, up on the Northeast coast, the unions are still really strong. So if they would coordinate with each other, they can make an impact for sure. But your non-union truck drivers, like I said, I made that little statement earlier. It's like herding cats, man. They'll just wait till the rates get so high that they're going to make a bundle off of it, and then hey, they got no morals. They'll jump that line in a heartbeat.
Well, I don't know whether it's morals, Tex, but I think what it's more like is a situation where these people are independent truckers. They have to make a living, and And when it comes right down to it, this is they would make a decision that's something that I find completely reasonable, which is to choose making a living over politics. And I wish more of us in this nation would do it. But I understand the independent truckers are, like Ray, Chicago Ray, he's trying to do something that I think we should spend a little bit of time thinking about. And that's whether or not we, the people of the United States, can reach into the political / union world and actually make a change.
Well, let me put a different perspective for you there, JD. So New York is one state out of 50. There's well, excluding Alaska and Hawaii, there's the other lowers. I don't go into California. I refused to go into California many years ago. Haven't been to New York in many, many years and won't go back there either. But truckers can make a living just fine finding loads going other places besides New York. New York is not the only game in town. So to use that as an excuse, I'm sorry. You're just going to sit there and wait till the rates go up.
Sure.
And then it's a cutthroat business, man.
It is
like it's never been before.
Well, a couple of my kids are involved in the trucking business. They say it's the wild, wild west. We have to have a conversation about that coming up in the future. So as a Teamster, was my assertion that the Teamsters would jump in and fill any gaps that would, say, for example, show up because the independent truckers not going to New York?
I am so glad you asked that question because that's where I was going. So while the Teamster leadership, you're 100% correct, they donate heavily and they lean Democrat and everything, but the membership does not. The huge, vast majority of the membership does not. So there would be some pushback from the membership to be told to do such, So it's really a mess these days. It really is. I worked for Yellow Freight, the second largest freight company in North America, and it went under in August.
Yep, just went belly up. Yep.
After 100 years.
Unbelievable.
They ran that company down.
Unbelievable.
Yes. So that was a big chunk of Teamster power taken away right there.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, that was like the second largest, freight company out there in North America. So anyway, the Teamsters don't have the power that they used to have, but you're right. The Teamster leadership does pander to the Democrats. I'll never understand that because Jimmy Hoffa didn't. But at the same time, the membership, the vast majority of the membership does not go in lockstep with that.
Yeah, I appreciate your call. Thanks very much, Tex. It's always good to have you here, and thank you very much for giving us your thoughts, especially as a Teamster and a trucker, as these guys think to try to organize around this idea that Donald Trump got screwed over very badly in New York. So is this chapter 1 of the Nothing Revolution? Remember, I've talked about this. Sooner or later, the government is going to find itself in a position where the American people will act. And since we know now that actual gatherings for demonstrations and so on and so forth will end up with you in a federal prison, because this government has no problem whatsoever making political prisoners out of anybody who disagrees. Are we in a position the best thing to do where the best thing to do is nothing? This would be where the truckers say, I'm not going to New York. What am I going to extend to New York after they've done something that truly infuriates me? The answer is nothing. It's completely peaceful. It's still not illegal. I wonder how long that's going to last. But sooner or later, the people of the United States will govern themselves. And this might be a little hint as truck drivers at least attempt to gather around an idea that unjustness has been visited upon a former president and they want to do something about it. We will see. Telephone number 817-379-2172. Want to thank Texan for joining us and giving us a call. It's always nice to hear from you directly, and I hope you do more of that. So by all means, use that telephone number, 817-379-2172. If you find value on this broadcast, whatever you do, make sure you share it with your friends. Subscribe, hit the notifications button, and give us those thumbs ups. They mean a lot to us. This is the Wells Report. Hour number 2 is next.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back. But you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Hey, thanks for joining us this morning for the Wells Report, and make sure you share us with all your friends on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Patreon, and don't forget to check out our Substack column, which will be coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. When you do all this, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give us those thumbs up. They are really important. Check the notification box so you know when we're on the air, and whatever you do, join us every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Central Time, for the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. My name is John David Wells. On this broadcast, we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze that news for fact and bias. We point out both. We depropagandize the mainstream media. We make commentary. That's not news. Commentary is opinion, yours and mine. And so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Thanks for joining us on this 19th day of February. It's Monday, year of our Lord 2024. So, we've been talking a little bit about leftist politics in America and the repercussions that come from all of that. There are some very interesting things happening regarding immigration in the United States. There have been a couple of different phases of this. The President of the United States, taking office in January of 2021, opened the floodgates, and somewhere between 8 to 10 million people have flooded through those gates to join us here in the United States. Those are the ones we know about. Somewhere in the vicinity of 85% of those people have been allowed to just get on with their lives here in the United States of America. That number of people overwhelms the total population of several states. And there are some frank implications of what happens when all these people show up. This onslaught occurs in our country. We'll talk about that coming up in just a little bit. So there are people that have been coping with all of that, specifically the citizens of Texas and the border states. We've all been coping with it as children die of fentanyl poisoning along with husbands and wives and co-workers, et cetera, et cetera. We've been hearing about human trafficking, which is the sex trade. But funny, the mainstream media just doesn't want to report on much of that, do they? No, they just don't want to do that. How come, I wonder? And then there are people that bravely stood up and said, we are going to flout federal law. We are going to open not just the gates to America, but the gates of our city and our state. We are a sanctuary state, said the brave, liberal, leftist, Democrat governors around the country. We are a sanctuary city, said the Democrat mayors. Well, now they're having some troubles. Reported today by Fox News, Democrat governors and mayors have reportedly been fighting among themselves as they send migrants back and forth from their cities to their other fellow Democrat cities. A report from the Chicago Sun-Times last Thursday spoke with multiple figures regarding the ongoing migrant crisis plaguing cities like Chicago, Denver, New York City. Democrat leaders have frequently attacked Republican Texas Governor Greg Abbott for busing migrants to their sanctuary cities and states. Hey, we can be a sanctuary city, but we're not actually equipped or ready to actually deal with the people we're inviting to our country. That's not what we intended. We just wanted to get votes from leftist liberal people that didn't really consider the implications of what those votes meant. And now you're bringing reality to our peaceful little political gamesmanship. Come on. It's not the problem of Texas Governor Greg Abbott. We didn't invite those people to Texas. All these people from all these cities invited these people from Texas, invited these people to Texas. We're just making good on their promises. It's something that should have been done years and years and years ago. But fortunately, it's happening now. Thank goodness Governor Greg Abbott runs the state of Texas as the governor. And that's why this is happening. Democrat leaders are saying, how dare you take us up on our brave political pronouncements? The report that we're discussing from the Chicago Sun-Times suggests that Democrats are frustrated with one another, specifically between Illinois and Colorado. The Illinois governor, J.B. Pritzker, has said in the meantime migrants were being sent to Denver, which was then sending them to Chicago, which Pritzker called unhelpful. He said Democrat Colorado Governor Jared Polis told him, we're not telling people to go to Chicago. They're just getting off the bus and saying they'd like to go to Chicago. I said, come on, that's not the case. You know, you guys are buying tickets to Chicago. I said to him, we can do the same thing back, and we're not going to. That's not how we should be operating, said the report, but that's what's happening. Because these guys are being overwhelmed by the result of their political promises. The accountability is becoming too much of a political problem for them, and they're looking for solutions. So they start screwing each other over. Pritzker also appeared to criticize New York Mayor Eric Adams, claiming many of the migrants in his state have been coming from Adams City. There's actually a list I handed to the mayor of Chicago. Since he's close to mayors, I said, here's a list of how many people have been sent to Chicago. You should call each mayor, starting with the mayor of New York, and tell them you've got to stop doing that, said Pritzker. Why? Why? All these guys are doing is sharing the wonderful bounty of their being sanctuary states and sanctuary cities. The joyous political boon of flouting federal law. That's what they're doing. So what's the problem? I mean, come on. Well, the problem is there just isn't enough room or resources available to places like New York. And they are unfortunately having to deal with some of the realities of that. In fact, New York Mayor Eric Adams was speaking to some people on Fox News, and they've got a problem. Let me give you some of this. The pushback has been pretty serious from their own city members. New York Mayor Eric Adams has done a U-turn on plans to convert an abandoned luxury apartment complex into a shelter for illegal immigrants after the community in Harlem opposed the proposal. Yeah, apparently in Harlem, they're saying, hey, wait a minute, just a darn second here. You're kind of screwing us over. Yes, the answer is we are indeed screwing you over. And it's pretty terrible. Yeah, it's terrible. I would say so. But the New York mayor is saying, now, wait just a minute here. We've got this abandoned luxury building. We'll just put them in there. No, we won't just put them in there, said the community in Harlem. Adams turned up unannounced at a community meeting in the Upper Manhattan neighborhood where locals were gathering to discuss rumors on that the building on the corner of 130th Street and Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard was quietly being prepared for immigrants. This, according to CBS News. The building was first advertised as luxury housing with a swimming pool, but has been empty for around a decade after its developers defaulted on loans, according to the outlet. It was built in 2007, has 35 units. It was leased to a nonprofit that had begun working with the City Department of Social Services and Homelessness to use it as a shelter for either migrants or the city's native homeless population. Residents saw boxes of bunk beds being loaded into the building, so when they weren't getting answers, they convened a meeting. They said they were angry over the lack of communication about being kept in the dark. Well, they can't deal with the truth in New York. They can't deal with the fact that they've actually done this to themselves. What they want to do is they just want to sneak people around and, just send migrants back and forth across the country, to try to keep themselves from being likewise waylaid. And so they're screwing themselves over, and they're screwing their citizenry over by sneaking these people around. I don't agree with turning it into a sanctuary for asylum seekers, knowing we have people right here in the United States that need the space, said Tiffany Fulton, executive director of Silent Voices United. That's a local nonprofit that helps underserved communities. Central Harlem, 44% of the residents are black, is generally a low-income neighborhood with a 28.4% poverty rate compared to 18% citywide. This is according to the 2020 census. A sign at the meeting said millions on migrants. What about youth programs? Adams has said the illegal migrant crisis could cost the city as much as $12 billion through 2025. At least 170,000 illegal migrants have arrived in New York since the spring of 2022. I feel his pain. There's no doubt about the fact that, yeah, that's kind of a problem. Yeah, 170,000 illegal migrants. That's about a month and a half's worth of the people that we get into the state of Texas, although that's come down dramatically since we actually did everything we could to close the border here. But that's a couple of months of visitors from down south here in Texas. We seem to be able to manage to get along, but New York City, they're hitting the panic button. One Harlem resident said, look, Mayor Adams, you are the mayor of this city. We don't want to hear excuses. The mayor said that illegal migrants wouldn't be placed inside the building, that instead it would house local homeless New Yorkers. I told the team, find out what's going on here. We're not moving folks into a brand new building when you have long-term needs in a community. That's not going to happen. Yeah, you got caught. You will not have migrants and asylum seekers in that property. Mayor's office did not respond to Fox News Digital's request for comments on the matter. Harlem resident Regina Smith told CBS the neighborhood felt disrespected. There are already too many homeless shelters in the community. We're being priced out of our own homes. Meanwhile, resident Leslie Johnson said the unit should be used instead as affordable housing. These apartments could be used for us to go into. Yeah, you see, that's the thing. You know, all this liberalism, all of this leftism is appropriate when you consider the fact that Americans are being left out of the political planning. Absolutely true. And they're being lefted right out of their houses and their neighborhoods. And it's awful. And it's intellectually bankrupt. And what about the people who actually live in New York, that actually pay all the taxes? These immigrants aren't doing any of that. They're just trying to find a job. They're trying to find a place to live. And New York City laws are such that the mayor really can't do anything about any of this. Now, where did those laws come from? Those laws came from the New York legislature. New York legislature came up with that. And so, okay, so the New York legislature is responsible for this. What are they going to do? Well, they're just going to shrug their shoulders and remain silent so that they don't have to worry about anybody asking them a really, really, really tough question. But those tough questions are coming. Because this is a real problem for these people. They have a real mess on their hands. I get it. But it is a self-created mess. And they have no real excuses. Just like the Harlem resident said. You've got no excuses for this. But then when it gets right down to it, is this all Eric Adams' fault? Is it all these politicians that stood bravely up there and said, we love immigrants. We're a city of immigrants. We want immigrants to come to our city. That's what we want. And then they show up. And the city can't afford it. They can't afford the flashing-eyed, hair-floating ideal of immigrants coming to the United States in droves and overwhelming everything. They don't want to be held accountable for it. They just want to be able to get votes for it. But where did those votes come from? Well, those votes came from the people that put them in office. They came from New Yorkers themselves. New Yorkers that actually live in these neighborhoods where these migrants are being housed, where buildings are being repurposed, where people are being asked to take in a migrant family in their own houses. No. Oh, they're not doing that. No, these are people that just make sure that they vote the right way so they can stand in front of each other in cocktail parties and look benevolent and wonderful. That's called narcissism. And New York is absolutely drowning in it. and it's costing them. Part of me says that's a good thing. But Schadenfreude also carries a price. I still worry about the city of New York, the people who live there, and those migrants. They're all being screwed. Back in a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. Thank you very much for joining us. Telephone number 817-379-2172. So Fox News sat down with New York Mayor Eric Adams. It was Fox News. It was Fox National, or it was News Nation. It wasn't News Nation. No, it was the Fox Digital folks that came up with this interview. Check this out. Mayor Eric Adams dealing with accountability.
Let's think about what a sanctuary city is. It is a place you can come. You're not going to be prosecuted. You're not going to be harmed. But even as a sanctuary city, you should not be overwhelmed. Our hearts are endless, but our resources are not. So it's not like New Yorkers are not saying we are not a city of immigrants. We are. We have a rich history of immigrants, but we can't take the global problem and it become our problem. That is unfair to New Yorkers. It's unfair to migrants.
What happens when there's no more room? I mean, we're almost at capacity now, right?
No, we're there. We're not just saying we're out of room as a soundbite. We're out of room, literally. People are going to be eventually sleeping on the streets.
Okay, what would it take for you to close the front door?
I don't have the authorization to tell people they can't come into New York
Why
City.
not?
It's against the law. Even if someone commits a crime repeatedly, we can't even turn them over to ICE.
I know, we see that. There are crimes that are going on in the city that are migrant related, and there's no talk about that at all. Why not? Why can't the NYPD notify ICE?
The law states that we cannot notify ICE. I cannot break the law and enforce the law.
Yeah, can't break the law. Well, where'd the laws come from? See, what they've done is they've painted themselves into a corner. They can't do anything about the problems they've created. So once again, who has to solve the problem? Well, the voters have to solve the problem. Apparently, New Yorkers like living this way. They keep voting for these people. De Blasio before Adams. De Blasio all but chased out of town on a rail. But now Eric Adams is a guy who is trying to do his absolute dead level best to deal with the mess left over from decades of leftist policy that now forces him, because of all the laws, this mosaic of laws that surround New York City, he's now in a position where he doesn't have a whole lot of ways to do anything. He can't even stop the onslaught. And by the way, in case you're wondering, they're still coming up with laws like this. This is awful. There is an apparent New York rule change that makes thousands of migrants eligible for cash payments. Remember when they were talking about the fact that social services would not be anything that would be extended to illegals? The state of New York has been giving cash payments to thousands of migrants who typically would not qualify for the state's welfare program. Democrat Governor, New York Governor Kathy Hochul has quietly changed the state's safety net assistance program to allow non-citizens who have pending applications for asylum to receive benefits, making thousands of migrants eligible for the payments, according to a report from the New York Post and confirmed by Fox News Digital. The move was made through the state's Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance, which sent a message to social service agencies across the state, though the agency would not say how many migrants are currently receiving payments. Well, they can't. No, if we tell you how many of these guys are receiving payments, then you might hold us accountable for all this. Reach for comment by Fox News Digital. An ODTA spokesperson said just a small portion of the $4.3 billion the governor set aside for the migrant crisis has been used for the payments, estimating that 90% of the current migrant population in the state would not be eligible for the benefits under the new rules. They're living for free. They're eating for free. They are here to essentially repopulate a state that has seen Americans leave in droves because of the garbage that's going on in New York. But now they have these citizens. Well, the next census won't be a problem because we have all these people here. This is diabolical. It is not just diabolical, it's just plain un-American. And it's just plain awful. And it needs to just plain change. Voters, are you listening?
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Hi, John David Wells, starting your Monday with the news depropagandized for your enjoyment. We don't normally do a lot of this, but there are just some things that have to be talked about from a sports world standpoint. And because we have the advantage of this radio broadcast, it's not actually a radio broadcast, but this podcast, we can do anything we want. It's kind of cool, actually. So I get to talk to you about the Daytona 500. It was supposed to be run yesterday, after all of the arcane fiddle-dee-dee and falderall that happens in the 2 weeks before the Daytona 500. They finally got to the race. They were finally able to get to the race, and they were going to be able to go 500 miles in the biggest NASCAR race every year in the world, except for one thing. It rained, and so they couldn't run the race. They're running it today, and it's going to be on at 4 p.m. Eastern time. The Xfinity race will be run before that. That'll happen beginning around 11 o'clock. And it'll be fun for those people that really enjoy NASCAR racing. Denny Hamlin is going into the Daytona 500 looking for his 4th victory in the event. It's dubbed the Great American Race. The driver of the number 11 FedEx Toyota Camry talked about his plan for the race and his winning at all cost mindset to kick off the 2024 NASCAR season. Hamlin talked about his strategy on the track on Fox Race Day as the race was rained out yesterday, pushed to today. Hamlin drives for Joe Gibbs Racing, but is also part owner of 23XI Racing with Michael Jordan. Joe Gibbs will have 4 drivers in the field. 23XI will have 2. He goes, whoever I think's got the most momentum that can get me clear as well when he was asked who he would push between team members in certain situations. I've only got so many of these left that I'm able to compete in. I'm going to have to do whatever I can do to win another one. Hamlin said earlier in the interview he takes more risks in the Daytona 500 than any other race. He said he separates the Daytona 500 from other races because he's not interested in collecting stage points. He's trying to win. I think over the years we've been seeing this thing develop into manufacturers, alliances, and all that, but ultimately you've got to be selfish. You're not going to be happy pushing a teammate to a victory. You're going to want to get it for yourself, especially in the Daytona 500. It's the biggest race in the world, depending on your point of view. I like Le Mans. I like Formula One. But I got to be honest, NASCAR racing is in a league of its own. It's not nearly as powerful or as popular as it used to be, because the sport has essentially homogenized itself into cookie-cutter drivers. At least Denny Hamlin will step up and say, yeah, I'm going to take chances. Yeah, I'm going to take chances. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to win another one of these races. It takes carnivores to win these races. And because we don't want to rock the boat or create problems, what we do is we've minimized the real serious rivalries that used to be prevalent in NASCAR. And essentially that happened with Jimmy Johnson, who won everything 7 times. I mean, everybody wanted to be like Jimmy Johnson, so they all look like Jimmy Johnson. They talk like Jimmy Johnson. They are very well heeled. They don't make a lot of controversial statements. NASCAR has created what looks like a dozen eggs, except there are 42 of them. You open up a dozen eggs and they all look exactly the same. Same thing with these race cars. They're all exactly the same, even though they're supposedly from different manufacturers. They all look the same. They all pretty much drive the same. And yeah, the infinitesimal changes to try to get a small advantage works to the benefit of cars running around in a giant group at 200 miles an hour all the time. And that leads to big, big accidents. As a matter of fact, they're referred to in the Daytona 500s, they're referred to as the big one or the big ones. And sometimes there can be 2 or 3 of them. The people that are at the front of the pack almost never win that race. It's somebody from the mid pack, which brings us back to Jimmy Johnson. He's starting 23rd this race. And so on. So, okay. They've got the exact product they want. It's absolutely fair. And all the drivers are absolutely the same. And there's nothing to differentiate anybody from anyone except for Denny Hamlin, who stepped up and said, I'm going to win this thing because I want to. You got to be selfish. And that's what I'm going to do. Well, at least that's one. I wonder if anybody's going to step up and do something else, like, I don't know, say, not over my dead body. Kyle Busch used to be that way. The great Darrell Waltrip named him Rowdy. And yeah, that's absolutely who Kyle Busch is. I've raced that guy. And he was tough then when he was just a little kid. But his toughness has been ironed out of him, and that's a shame. Turning to the NBA All-Star Game. Okay, so NBA basketball games, 115 to 96, somewhere in that vicinity. But not during the All-Star Game over the weekend. No, the the score at the end of all of it was 211 to 186. Now, you know how I've been really, honest about my distaste for soccer. Well, the NBA is beginning to look a lot like soccer. Pointlessness seems to be substituting itself for actual points. 212 points. Are you kidding me? This is what the game looked like. See if you enjoy this product.
Curry, might as well.
Three-pointer. Oh, yeah. Yeah, here he comes. Boy. And another three-pointer. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Everybody's standing around. Yeah. There you go. And what do we got now? Oh, a dunk. Oh, my God, a dunk. There, an 8-foot tall guy jumps to a 10-foot basket. Don't tell me. Oh, here we go. It's going to be another shot, but at least it wasn't a three-pointer.
You also want to be a little bit competitive.
Another three-pointer. Oh, he missed it. Oh, doggone. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Wait a minute. What do we got here? Yeah, that was walking, and that was walking, and a layup. That's so exciting. Three-pointer. Missed it. Okay. Oh, look, a full court pass. And what do we got now? And we got just a dinky little shot. And there you go. My goodness gracious, that's exciting. Not. That, by the way, they were talking about this in the article. What this is turning into, this is turning into three-pointers and dunks. That's all it is. And that's what the regular season looks like, too. It's useless. It's bogus. And these guys are like 5 feet, 6 feet off the three-point line. How do you fix this game? It's boring. Everybody can dunk the basketball. There is no movement. They just stand around. I know this is an all-star game, and standing around is what all-star games are all about, especially when it's the NBA. Yeah, okay. Well, that's boring. And it's ridiculous. And the sport is, if not suffering now, is going to be suffering in the very near future. Because this just isn't worth watching. How do you fix it, John David, Mr. Smarty Pants? You're always talking about truth and solutions. What's your solution? We moved the NBA basket from 10 feet to 12 feet. And then suddenly you have a sport again. I can hardly wait until they do it. It's really a matter of time. NBA basketball was always, or just basketball in general, was always seen as an evolving game based on the circumstances. And they can continue to do that. I wish they would. The only thing that was even remotely interesting about the NBA All-Star Weekend was Charles Barkley talking about San Francisco and the joys of living there or not. Check this out from Sir Charles.
17 degrees.
Hey, Reggie. Yes. If you had a chance of being cold or being around a bunch of homeless crooks in San Francisco, when you that's crazy. You're not welcome. They're not letting you in. You're not welcome.
We love San Francisco.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do.
You can't even walk around down there.
Yes, you can walk around.
Yeah, with a bulletproof vest and security.
You live in Philadelphia.
I live in Arizona.
Yeah. That is Sir Charles talking about San Francisco. I love that guy. I just love that guy. And he let him have it. And somebody needs to. That's that accountability that we were just talking about. This leftist crazy people that are making this stuff happen. But let's get back to where we are here. We have a couple of great American sports. NASCAR and the NBA. And they have worked themselves, both of these sports have worked themselves into boredom. Now, it's not boredom in NASCAR from a standpoint of all they do is drive around in circles. They turn left, and then they turn left, and then they go straight, and then they turn left, and then they turn left, and then they go straight. Okay. The reason that people actually watch people drive around on ovals like they do in NASCAR primarily is because that kind of driving is impossible. I have raced cars, and I've always patted myself on the back because I'm a I'm a road racer. I turn left and right. I don't do those silly little ovals. And I said, how difficult could this be? Until I got in my race car and started trying to drive ovals. When it comes to road racing, you're only on the absolute ragged edge of control for a little more than a second at any given moment. On an oval, you're on the ragged edge of control most of the lap. And to be able to control those things and to be able to drive around faster than anybody else is an insanely difficult art. But nobody really realizes just how tough it is because NASCAR doesn't tell that story. And they get back to the cookie cutters and all the drivers looking the same and all the cars basically the same and everything's the same and, win on Sunday and sell on Monday. Not so much. Those cars have nothing to do with the cars we drive. They used to, but not anymore. The NBA is a stand-around league. They don't pass the ball. They don't have to. If they do pass the ball, all they're doing is trying to fake inside so that they can go back outside for another three-point shot. Steph Curry does not miss. And neither does most of the NBA shooter population around the league. They don't miss either. And so when it comes down to these 6'8", 6'9", 7 foot, 7 foot, 6 inch, 8 foot tall guys, they're only playing basketball on a 10-foot basket. They literally can reach up and just dunk it. Well, that might have been really, really cool when they started doing that. My goodness gracious. All the way back to even before I was watching basketball, Wilt Chamberlain, he scored 100 points all by himself once. Well, yeah, those guys were amazing. But now everybody does it. And it's boring. The guys don't jump. They don't. Nobody jumps. They don't have to. They don't have to actually work an offense to get the ball to the basket. They don't have to do that. What do? They just stand around, don't even move, waiting for the pass to come to them. They move like 2 or 3 steps to get clear so they can get a pass and then pass it to the guy outside the three-point line, and there you go. It's worthless. And as soon as people realize just the fact that this isn't interesting, this just isn't interesting, they're going to leave. NASCAR doesn't tell the story about how difficult it is to do what they do. People leave. And so, just so you know, that's my hot sports take. These guys are killing their own sports. And for what reason? Well, they want to make it fair. Guess what? Life isn't fair. The trick is to overcome unfairness. That's what people root for. They've removed the underdog. Now it's just basically a lottery. Everybody has the same cars. Everybody has the same capability. All the NBA basketball teams are the same. And so what is it worth? The answer is not a whole heck of a lot. So sports used to be a lot of fun. There was a show that I watched religiously. It was called ABC's Wide World of Sports. I love that show. The human drama of athletic competition. The thrill of victory. The agony of defeat. And that story is being told by the NFL. We just had a Super Bowl. And the San Francisco 49ers, looking unstoppable for most of the year, got stopped by the Kansas City Chiefs. It was actually a pretty good game. It was. It was a pretty good game. I enjoyed it. But the San Francisco 49ers fired their defensive coordinator, and they are suffering. the agony of defeat. And it's not just the players, it's the players' families. And how do these people solace themselves in all of this pain and misery over the fact that they just lost the biggest football game in the world? We're going to show you next how these people deal with that tragedy. This is the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat. The human drama of athletic competition. This is ABC's Wide World of Sports. Brought to you by Lincoln Mercury. Nobody has more kinds of cars or more kinds of people. See them at the sign of the cat.
The great Jim McKay, whose son would go on to push ABC's Wide World of Sports and ABC Sports to incredible heights. And those things ring in my ears. I have experienced both the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. And nothing is better than winning. I miss it very much, in fact. I don't compete like I used to. And the reason is well, you grow up. But I still miss it. I still miss winning. And yeah, I also work through the realities of losing. It is not anything that is easily done, especially when you work so incredibly hard to get to the point where you indeed are are dealing with the realities of not being able to win. And so what ends up happening is this, is you find yourself in a position where if you have worked your entire life for something, like NFL athletes, for example, if you work yourself for so long in so many different ways to be able to achieve at the very highest levels, then you find yourself in a situation where you have to kind of deal with it as best you can. And so it's not just you, it's not just the players. It's also the wives and the children. And that's just not easy. And so all these people find themselves in a position where they have to find a way. Indeed, they do. They have to find a way to quell and quash the pain. And so how do these people do it? Well, in the case of some of the 49ers and their wives, they go to some place far, far away from the madding crowd. And they try to solace themselves by spending time contemplating what they've just been through. And it can be difficult because you don't have all the comforts of home. You're off in some strange place where you don't have all those comforts, and you try to sort of just come to grips with it. So here's what you've got. You've got these poor people trying to put the loss behind them. And you can see that the wives of these great athletes are certainly suffering. You know, they are trying to get back to where they once belonged. And you can see they're all falling apart here. I mean, they're on some beach. They don't even have they don't even have indoor plumbing. You know, they're just walking around. They can't afford real clothing. They're just wearing rags. It's just horrible. And look at them now. They're just trying to find their next meal. All because they lost in the Super Bowl. This poor woman can't find clothing that even stays tied when she puts it on. Yeah. And she's waiting for somebody to come along and help her out. You know. Here's someone once again dealing with the agony of defeat, so much so that she's trying to work the tangles out of her hair. Yeah. Isn't it awful? Because you don't get that bonus. That bonus from the Super Bowl win, you end up having clothing that just barely covers you. It's just awful. Terrible. And, you know, you're talking, well, what could you have done better, honey? I don't know. I wish I could. I just don't know. So, yeah, we're wondering how they're holding up, solacing themselves with alcohol, rum, standing there waiting to be washed away by the tsunami that's headed their way. Yeah, see? What are we going to do next year? I don't know, honey, but you got to do something or I'm going to keep hitting you in the gut like this. Okay, hun, I'll do the best I can. Yeah. And, I mean, she's sitting there, woe is me, you know, clutching her breast in her sorrow. Yeah, it's tough. The agony of defeat. You know, nobody wants to lose. But if you have to lose, that's not a bad way of going about it. Just saying. I could be wrong. Matter of fact, you know, I'm going to have to start thinking about after going through all that sorrow and tragedy, I'm going to have to go and get myself checked out to see if I fall into the NFL concussion protocol. Yeah. This has been the Wells Report for Monday. This is the 19th day of February. I hope you have a wonderful Monday. I'm going to go out and suffer the agony of defeat again because I'm going to go play golf with my buddy Ken. So have yourself a great afternoon, and I'll see you again tomorrow for another edition of the Wells Report. And there you go. There you have it. All right, beloveds. Well, those aren't beach photos, Yvonne. Those are people suffering defeat. Yeah. Yes. Defeat. We're just talking about the agony of defeat. That looks like agony to me. I mean, you know, goodness gracious. You always hit the water hazards? Yeah. Yeah, I only hit the water hazards when they're there. That's the way that works. All right, God bless all y'all. Take good care, huh? And I will see you tomorrow, 9 a.m. right here on most of this same computer screen. Have yourself a great one. Thanks very much.